Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you're new, great to have you here, and could you do me a massive favour and just click the wee subscriber button? Every one really does count, and as the channel grows, so will my desire to give away watches, straps, bags of coffee, all the rest of it. Thanks. Now onto the video. In the UK, you'll often hear people bemoan the fact we don't make anything in this country anymore. That's not true. We still make successful sports people, we still make YouTube videos, and we still make reference to great things others did that we somehow feel we deserve credit for. This can be in the form of celebrating the ingenuity of ancient Egyptian culture by making sure it can only be seen in our museum, or by your mate's uncle implying he actually stormed Normandy himself because his dad was, quote, stationed just up the road. The watch world loves to do this too, mainly through marketing. Engage enough with the marketing spiel, and you'll start to genuinely believe the first person to climb Everest was just a Rolex Explorer with legs. Of course, it wasn't. It was Sir Edmund Hillary, another person your uncle claims he went to school with, and Eddie, as he was known to his school pals, did it with a Smith's A409. He also took a Rolex, but there's some debate as to which he actually took to the mountain summit. There's a link in the description to a great article detailing that very mystery. Smith's itself now exists as a kind of nod to the good old days of British watchmaking, manufacturing fantastic retro-inspired pieces drawing on the brand's rich history. But whilst looking back on past glories has become the British raison d'etre, there's another British brand that's created the very modern timepiece that you see here. It's the Pompeak Sub-Aquatic, and it was kindly lent in for review by the brand, hence the paid promotion thingamajig. But that won't colour my judgment. They also won't get any copy approval or anything like that. Before we get into what I like or dislike about the Sub-Aquatic, let's run through some specs. First, let's discuss those dimensions, which along with some other material similarities, ape those of the Rolex Submariner. Of course they do. Even without looking at the actual numbers, you'd be forgiven for thinking this watch's silhouette, with its maxi case and blocky crown guards, did in fact belong to Rolex's flagship diver. The 41mm case diameter matches that of the latest 124060 or 126610 references, but the wide lugs are more reminiscent of the 114060 reference. Despite the audible murmurs I can hear upon the discovery of the maxi style case, you needn't worry. The Sub-Aquatic wears very well indeed, thanks in no small part to the very wearable 13mm thickness, and the bracelet which tapers from 20mm at the lugs to a very nice 15.5mm, then back up to 18mm at the clasp, which features a glide lock style mechanism to help you get the perfect fit whatever the weather, or regardless of whether you've been hitting the weights in preparation for summer. The effective lug to lug length of 52.5mm, made so by the protruding male end link, sounds a lot longer than it does in practice, and even on my 6.5-inch wrist, it doesn't make the watch look unwieldy. Onto the dial, and the indices are smaller than those of the later Rolex references, and are more like the ones found in the 14060. I prefer this, as it gives that dial room to breathe. I'll talk more about those indices a little later. The arrowhead hour and pencil minute hands, the latter of which reaches right out to the edge of the dial, make this an incredibly legible watch, as does the AR coating on the slightly domed sapphire crystal. Likewise, the sharp arrowhead second hand, complete with splash of red, matching that of the text at 6 o'clock a little below the pinion, is well executed and offsets the composition of the colour scheme so well it'd have Stanley Kubrick pressing the button for the lift, or elevator for my American friends, quicker than you can say Solita SW200-1. I know, what a segue. I do need to learn how to say that movement faster though, as these automatic watches, all coming in at this sort of price, are all containing this movement, which is no bad thing. These are solid, well made and somewhat nicely finished movements. Pompeak have signed the rotor on this one too, a classy touch at this price and one I'm very much here for. And sorry to mention the R word again, but the watch is constructed of 904L stainless steel, as opposed to 316L stainless steel, just like Rolexes are. I'm no expert in precious metals, so I won't pretend I'm the person to intricately detail the pros and cons of using 904L steel instead of 316L, but a cursory Google search and a few articles I found online tell me that 904L has better anti-corrosion properties and when polished has a more, well, dazzling effect, shall we say. It makes sense, as the Pompeak Sub-Aquatic bracelet is very much designed to dazzle thanks to those polished centre links, which could be favourably compared to those of a Rolex GMT Master 2. There's screw links as well, so adjusting the bracelet is no trouble at all. Speaking of dazzling, and back to that dial, which I very much consider the showstopper of this piece, the waffle effect really is mesmerising, and it's very much justification for that thumbnail and or video title. The blue has a sapphire-like quality, but thanks to the sunburst effect, plays with the light so that it's almost like you're looking at the shimmering surface of the Atlantic. That waffle effect is obviously going to draw parallels with the AP Royal Oak. Again, certainly no bad thing, but the applied indices and Rehort chapter ring give the dial a fantastic sense of depth, and whilst the logo and the two lines of text towards 6 o'clock are printed, they almost appear to rise above the texture of that dial. The date window at 3 o'clock is framed nicely, and the dial is just very well balanced, without too much text, barring the water resistance rating and the model name, and with the somewhat inoffensive logo at 12. All in all, in the daytime, I'd describe this as stylish yet practical. However, there's a reason I haven't shown off the Lume shot. Lume shot? More like lame shot? Anyway, it's because there's not much to mention Lume-wise. It's rather unevenly applied, and as you can see here, the indices at 1 and 2 appear to be much less generously filled than the rest, which isn't saying much anyway. That's a QC oversight I wouldn't be happy with if I'd bought this piece to use as my go-to diver. The Lume is BGW9, so it has that pale blue glow that I've started to favour over C3, but there's just not very much of it, which doesn't bode well if you were to take this far beneath the ocean's surface. Likewise, the bezel action is pretty stiff and something I hope only my model suffers from. The ratcheting sound is okay, and everything aligns, which is just as well, because I decided early on that I wouldn't be timing anything with this, let alone dives. Let's have a listen to it now. Yeah, so you probably maybe sort of get the idea. The screw down crown is something that would aid that water resistance and aid my own anxiety about breaking my watch by submerging it if it weren't for the awkward, crunchy action. So maybe overt practicality is not the point with this watch. As I've said countless times on here, I'm never going to take my dive watches to the depths that they can be taken to. Not because they can't handle it, but because I can't. Like many of us, I appreciate the aesthetics and the potential practicality of a dive watch. I'll probably only reap the benefits of one of those things. Sure, I can do the washing up and will sleep soundly on my deck chair, knowing my watch would survive far longer than Jack ever did after the sinking of the Titanic. But if I'm ever plunging the murky depths of 200 metres below the sea, it'll be because I've once again overestimated the strength of my breaststroke and the Coast Guard is having to haul my corpse out of the water, much to the amusement of everyone at my local yachting club. The point is, this is a dive watch in name only really, and I think it's much more suited to someone who likes the look of an AP Royal Oak, a Rolex Submariner, and even a Rolex GMT Master 2, all rolled into one. As the mountains and the Pompeak logo suggest, this watch might be more useful high above the water rather than down below it, and as an avid dive watch fan as opposed to an avid diver, that's not the end of the world. If you made it this far into the video, thank you, and please do share your thoughts on the Pompeak Sub-Aquatic in the comments section below. I'd love to hear what you think of this luxury diver. If you like this video and you want to see more, please do hit the subscribe button as well and hit the bell to get notified every time I upload. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.